Here with Mandeville coach Hutch Gonzales. And Coach, it's a little bit different than last time this year. I'm sure you feel a lot more comfortable in the role. Just talk about it a little bit and where you think you guys are right now.
We're in a whole different place right now than we were at this point last year, that's for sure. At this point last year, I'd only known these kids for a couple months. My seniors were kind of running the program before I got here. Josh, Coach Buell, who's now at North Shore, had moved on, and so the boys were kind of, at this point of the summer, just still getting used to me. We ran kind of a makeshift spring, and a skeleton crew was doing it. This year, I feel like this is year one. Last year was kind of year zero, we've talked about, and being able to have a year with them, an entire off season to build not just the bodies and things in the weight room and the knowledge of the schematics, but really to build the culture has been huge for us, and the kids have really bought in. It's been awesome.
What are you most excited about going into the season?
Man, just seeing if we can carry the momentum from the off season into the season. We've had a very productive, I think, like I said, physically and culturally off season since November. When we finished up, a lot of guys give the kids some time off, and I told our kids, we're not good enough for that. We're going to get right back at it, and we're going to make up for lost time that we didn't have last year, and we're going to get this thing fixed, and we're going to right the ship. And since January, we've been on the track since 5:45 in the morning. The kids would come and voluntary workouts, and voluntary turned into everybody showing up every day, and it's been really awesome. So
how they respond to that?
Well,
yeah,
really well, which was surprising to me. I had a bunch of parents who were concerned at first, like, oh, we spend a lot of time out there, but the kids actually would come in and say, Coach, I feel so much better in first hour because I've been up for a while and I'm not dragging. I said, I told y'all, that's how it works.
We'll talk about, let's start with your offense, because I know you're excited about your skill players, and you got quite a few returners coming back. And just talk about some of these kids that you're most excited about, and especially, again, the skill position. You got a lot of speed there.
We have a lot of speed there. I think when you start talking about skill position players on offense, I want to start with the quarterback. We're very fortunate that we have a returning starter who's still only going to be a junior, and DEVON TOTT. He's a big kid. If you saw him last year and you saw him this year, it's him, but he looks different. I mean, he's a 6'2", almost 6'3" kid now. He's closer to almost 180 pounds, where last year was about 165 pounds. The arm strength is there. The physical ability is there. Our question is always, are you willing to do the work that it takes to be the man at this level? And he really has. He's put it in, and he's a much improved quarterback this year than he was last year. He's also fortunate to have a receiving core that makes him look very good. Everybody knows about Will Sheppard. He's 6'3", 190 pounds, 40-inch vertical, power cleans half the world. He's a guy with all the college offers and all the ability and the skill set to really be a playmaker in any offense, but especially in an offense like ours. And all the accolades are well-deserved. He's a phenomenal kid, and he comes out here and he does whatever we ask him to do, and we expect him to have a pretty productive season. But I would say just the group around him. There's 3 more guys, and really 4 more guys that are going to be out there on the field at any given point. You got the DeRege Gaspards, who are DeRege is going to see, he's going to get back there and take some snaps.
He did last year.
And he won 2 football games for us last year as a quarterback. He'll get his Wildcat snaps, and we're going to put him back there and let people, he'll be that little change of pace.
Yeah.
Runs extremely crisp routes. He's very shifty, what we like to call twitchy. Catches the ball well. He's a threat to score every time he touches it. The wild card is kind of the little sophomore, Landon Ibieta. Not a whole lot of people know, unless you're really from this area, you're not really familiar with Landon, but he is a special athlete. He's going to be a sophomore. He's already a 5'11", 175, 180-pound kid that can absolutely fly. Very sure-handed, and he's great in the screen game. We like to give him the football as many times as possible because he is a threat.
And you got quite an interesting running back that came out of nowhere, because I didn't know who he was before the season started. I don't even know if you knew he was going to turn into a number 1 kind of back, and he just came out of nowhere, had a 300-yard rushing game. Talk about him a little bit. He
is our, we call him our X Factor, because he can really kind of do everything. His speed is obnoxious. He's the fastest kid in the school, and he was probably, if not one of the fastest kids in the parish this season in track. He ran 100, and I don't think he ever lost a 100 or 200-meter race. I mean, he can really fly. So.
Did you have any idea?
No, we didn't. Charles Krim was our starter last year. Zon Diaz was the backup, and he said, "Coach, I'll play in the slot. I'll play wherever. I just want to get on the field and touch the ball." Charles went down. Zon goes in. The next thing you know, he's ripping off 306 yards against Ponchatoula on outside zone, and we're like, well, we can't take this guy off the field.
Right.
So then he became the number one, and really did everything for us in, 6 games. He rushed for right at 1,000 yards.
Right. Talk about your front line. What do you have coming back up front?
So it starts with your center. He's going to anchor it. It's Marshall Smith, and I told somebody else he's going to receive some little preseason accolades. He'll be named in Louisiana Football Magazine on the Out South team, along with Zon and Will. But he'll be our one big guy up there that'll get those accolades. And he's really, like I said, he's the anchor. He's the center. He was also another surprise last year. Kind of got thrown in, undersized, and played his tail off. The question we have right now is, we have a boy. When I say boy, he's 6'8", and he's 340 pounds. His name is Mackie Malo. Make sure I got that right for his dad this time. And he's an animal. I mean, he's this. When he walks in the room, you can't miss him.
I guess not.
He was a sophomore last year. He wasn't quite ready for varsity ball. Big and strong and able doesn't necessarily make you a great football player. You still have to have that mentality. He's definitely figuring it out.
And he's ready now?
And he seems to be. If he ever is a no-doubter, like this dude is, he's got the mentality, then he's a legitimate SEC problem.
Let's go to the defensive side of the football and just talk a little bit about what you got there and your returning starters, first off.
So we lost some guys last year on the defensive line, seniors that had really earned the right to play in those positions. We were really high on the kids that were behind them, but those guys deserve the opportunity to get out there and battle it out for another season. They had already had a pretty tumultuous career here with the coaching changes and all, and we didn't want to come in and say, all right, we're starting over from scratch. And that's really where we were pretty senior heavy last year on defense. We're extremely excited about what we have going on up front defensively now. We lost a guy last year in the spring who would have been a starter for us. He's going to be a junior. He would have started as a sophomore. His name's Seth Paggart. Seth is a 5'11", 255-pound kid who I think there's a video circulating right now. He's bench pressing 405 pounds or something ridiculous. He's 100% from the knee thing.
And he got playing time last year?
He would have. He would have been a starter going into the season, but he had a patella tendon problem in his knee. But he's 100% back from that. He's got a pretty good running partner. We have another junior named DAYLEN LEVI, he's a college defensive lineman. He's a 6'2", 275, almost 280-pound kid. When you hear about some of these big defensive linemen in the state right now, and they're 6'2", 6'3", 280, he fits that mold. He's got that kind of strength. He's got that kind of quickness. He didn't play a whole lot last year, so he does not get the notoriety. He will after this year. Our 2 defensive ends, another junior, ODEN Pierce, good-sized kid, put on a bunch of weight this offseason. He's quick. He was a linebacker last year. We moved him down because we have guys that are going to fill that linebacker role. But he had a phenomenal spring for us at D-end. And then on the other side, we have our only senior on the D-line, who's Miller McSwain. He's another, we're not overly large there. He's a 215, 220-pound kid, but he's got a ridiculous motor and good speed.
You consider the linebacker core the strength of your defense?
I do.
Talk about them a little bit.
I do. Like I said, we love the front, but when I say the front, I consider those linebackers as well, part of that 7. So, if we're going to put 4 guys down, the 3 guys that are standing up behind them are pretty good, or 2, depending on how many we got out there. But our middle linebacker was a guy who played safety for us last year. He's athletic enough to be a safety. But he's physical and is now put on the size of the middle linebackers, John O'Connor. Okay. We've been fortunate to have Mike Maudie around here with Oshner training our
Yeah.
kids this summer, and you know, when he comes up and says, "Boy, I see a lot of myself in that kid," you're like, "Okay, well then we made the right move." Yeah.
Talk about your backfield a little bit.
I got to start with safeties. Got 2 senior safeties. Both of them looked the part. One of them's Noah Angolia. He's a returning starter.
Yep.
You know, good size, good speed, good physicality as far as that position goes. You know, good enough ball skills to make all the plays if the ball comes back there to him. Kind of our emotional and I don't know, he's just a leader back there. You know, he's kind of the returning vet, and everybody kind of looks to him. Yeah.
Let's go to your schedule, and you know, your pre-district schedule is interesting, and you got a little local flavor in there. You got all kinds of stuff, but just talk about first of all your pre-district and how you're getting ready for big district.
Yeah, you know, we always try to have a game early, very early, usually week 1, where you're going to get on that bus.
Yeah.
And you're going to go away.
It was university.
Last year, boy, did we pick a good one last year.
Yeah.
That was a good football team.
You think?
Yeah, man. Special guys over there. But anyway, so we're getting on the bus and we're going to Poplarville, Mississippi.
Okay.
They were 4A state runner-ups in Mississippi last year, so it's going to be a playoff environment. They're used to winning. It's a phenomenal program. Load those kids on the bus and let them go experience some, you know, some playoff football very early, so that when we do make that run, it's not surprising to have to get on the bus and go hear loud people and all that good stuff. That'll be fun for us. It'll be a great test for what we're going to see week 2. I mean, you got Hanville coming in. Whether Hanville was Hanville last year or not, I can guarantee you Hanville's going to be Hanville this year, and even when they're down, they're still better than most people you're going to play. So
talk about week 3.
Week 3, Hannon, and that's kind of that local, you know.
I'm glad you guys decided to do that.
I am too, and I think it was a long time coming. You know, they've been progressively building that program. Scott Watney does a great job with those kids, the culture that they've built, and you know, kind of that underdog in the parish attitude of, you know, people don't think we can play with these big boys in the parish, but we're going to go out and show them. And so that's what he's kind of taken on this year. If you look at what he's done with their schedule, he went and got Lakeshore.
That's right.
He came and got us. You know, he wanted to play some of the big boys, and he's going to get his opportunity to play some of the big boys. And I think that his kids have earned that right. And I think they've earned a right to believe that they can compete with those guys.
Your district is an interesting one. We talk about it every year. Usually there's 1 or 2 teams, and then it's a crapshoot. And I really believe that this year, I'm not going to be surprised if 6 or 7. There might be only 1 or 2 teams that maybe on the outside looking in, but I think everybody's got a shot this year. Yeah,
you know, it's been kind of previously discussed that, you know, some people have said, oh, there's really 4 teams that can take the district title. There's really 5 teams that can take. I mean, if you look at it, to me, this is the first year I've ever said this thing's wide open.
I agree.
It's wide open. You always have to go with the returning champion, and Slidell is always going to be talented.
That's right.
Coach Favre, who is a mentor of mine, does a phenomenal job getting those guys ready to go.
Lastly, what's the biggest difference for you going into year 2 from year 1?
Just familiarity and culture. I mean, realistically, and not that the culture was bad before I got here, it just wasn't my culture, you know, and it wasn't the way we did things. I loved what they did, and they were always successful here, and they had a great run, but it just wasn't me. When you come in, you have to put your own stamp on things, whether it's the assistant coaches or the kids in the weight room and the way you practice. And I think that we were able to do that. Like I said, going from year 0 to going to year 1, in my opinion, it's just a completely different ballgame right now.
Well, we're excited to see you. We'll get you twice. We're looking forward to it.
I appreciate it.
Mandeville coach Hutch Gonzales, thanks for joining us.